What's up everybody? Welcome back to Zero Mile ADV, a true beginner's guide to adventure motorcycling. We're back with another video, it's 2 in a row, on the original adventure bike, the Harley-Davidson Road King. This one's not so much about the Road King, but it's actually more about my very first motorcycle rally experience and what are some of the things that I learned about going to my first rally. So stay tuned. Okay, as a lot of you know, got my first motorcycle, which is the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S, a couple of years ago now, maybe a little over a year ago. I can't remember. I think it's been about a year and a half, actually, to be honest with you. And since then, I have really fell in love with the motorcycling culture and world and been really interested in going to like a motorcycle expo, seeing a bunch of different bikes, etc. So I caught wind that there was a motorcycle rally called the Four Corners Motorcycle Rally down in Durango, Colorado. Only a few hours from me. Thought it was a super cool opportunity to go check one out. Heard some mixed reviews on what I thought about it. So we'll get into some things that I learned and some things that I like, and if I think you should check the Four Corners Motorcycle Rally out for yourself. So item number one thing that I learned is the different subsets of culture and people within the V-twin cruiser motorcycle market. So yeah, there's Indians, there's Victories, there's Yamahas, there's a whole bunch of other V-twins besides Harleys. Harleys definitely predominate, and the rally in Durango, I'll put some maps up, was actually kind of interesting. So it wasn't downtown so much. It was actually, if you're familiar with Durango, Colorado, it was in the fairgrounds, and then they had some demos, which I'll talk about later, probably my favorite part, out at the Ute Native American Casino, and then they also had some stuff going on at the Harley-Davidson dealership. So the first thing I noticed has to be the people and all the different subcultures within the kind of cruiser market. So you have your Dyna Bros, I guess is what they refer to, this like younger subset generation of kids that are getting into Harleys, specifically like the Dyna Softails with the, it seems like the taller your flat bars are, the more horsepower you have. You got to have like the Sons of Anarchy front fairing. Probably should wear your Vans. If you're not wearing your Vans, also not going to fit in. What are some other stereotypes I can say about this group? Okay, that's enough about the Dyna Bros. Then there's the contingency that's kind of like a mixture of like my subset and kind of me, my age, being middle-aged and maybe a little bit older too. People that just really enjoy being out, cruising motorcycles. You want to go ride, go on an awesome ride, stop, have lunch. You're really interested in new motorcycles, cool builds, that sort of stuff. Kind of the general motorcycle enthusiast, not really tied to one specific look or feel or like culture or club or whatever, right? Then you have the former veterans. These guys seem to be more like the old school, what I kind of generally assume is like the motorcycle club guys, but they're not really part of clubs. They just seem to be like former veterans. They ride their bikes like 30 to 40,000 miles a year. They wear the vest with all the patches, kind of like your hardcore, like blue collar worker. Like somebody I could actually really resonate with. I'm really, even though I definitely don't have a blue collar job, that's for sure. But, you know, that kind of just like hard class working American. And then there is the group that are the kind of like the tough guy crowd of motorcycles. So ironically, if you've never been to Durango, there's a highway called the $1 Million Highway. Really, really amazing. If you've never driven the $1 Million Highway, definitely do it. If you're looking for an amazing motorcycle ride, it would also be awesome. The best mountains in Colorado, in my opinion, are the San Juans in that stretch from Ouray to Durango. But you come into it halfway, you come into a little town called Silverton, old mining town, super, super cool. And it sits at like 10,000 feet. I don't know what that is in meters. It's probably like 3,500 meters for all you non-Americans out there. And I guess also the imperial system is in the UK and in Britain. They also use this imperial system. Anyways, but it sits about 9,500 feet, almost 10,000 feet. And you have guys cruising through town in this little mining town, like blasting rap music, like just trying to be like the tough guy. Just seems a bit ironic because you're in a super small mining town in the middle of nowhere and you're blasting just like intense rap music through town. I don't know, I don't get it. Anyways, but with that being said, I think this rally taught me that there's just kind of this wide subset of people that are interested in motorcycles in general, especially like the American V-twin cruising market, and it's just like all walks of life of people. And you can see these very different subtypes of people that are kind of into it. So that was my first thing. The first thing I learned, the people. Very, very interesting. Okay, so how was the rally laid out and my general thoughts there? So what's interesting about the Four Corners Motorcycle Rally is that it's kind of, this year it was spread across town. And again, this is my first motorcycle rally, so I can't imagine like Sturgis, like it seems like it's spread all over the Black Hills, and so there's a lot of different areas you can check out. But you kind of had, and here's some maps that I took of the area. The rally was kind of spread across town. So you had the fairgrounds area, which is kind of closer to downtown, just outside of town. You had the Native American Ute Casino area, where all the demos were going on, and then you kind of had this like stunt show, which is kind of my cover image. If you saw that, there's like this stunt show going on. And then you had the Harley Davidson dealership area. And I think the cool thing about this is that it was spread across town, because then everybody kind of congregated downtown at night. So we walked downtown, after we had dinner, we were kind of walking around, and it was super cool to see all the different bikes lined on the street. And I think that was probably one of my like more fun, one of my favorite parts was like just seeing all the different types of bikes that people rode to the rally. So I can't imagine going to Sturgis where there's just millions of bikes. I don't know if there's millions, don't quote me on that, but just lots and lots more bikes to be able to look at and see all the cool stuff and the customizations people have done. So it's just really unique, especially when most of the bikes are Harleys, and just to see all the different ways you can kind of make your own bike. So that was super cool. So back to the different areas, those are the kind of different areas. The fairgrounds area kind of had like all the tents and vendors set up. Not a lot of good vendors, I'll get to that next. The Ute Native American Casino area had all the demos, stunt shows. I already talked about that, so that's maybe repeat. And then finally there was the Harley Davidson dealership, which was of course Harleys for sale, and then some other vendors. Okay, so let's talk about some things I didn't necessarily like about the rally. Was just kind of the lack of vendors. If you've ever been to like not a motorcycle, we're talking about motorcycles. If you've ever been to like a bicycle expo or anything like that, generally you have a lot more non-t-shirt vendors, right? So you have a lot of the bicycle manufacturers. I say bicycle so we don't get confused. You have a lot of the bicycle manufacturers, you have a lot of helmet vendors, parts vendors, just like a whole wide array of different vendors that will come so you can check out the cool new products. It seemed that all three locations, whether it was the casino or it was the dealership or the fairgrounds area, most of the vendors were just like vulgar t-shirts. It's kind of the only way I could say it, like stuff that I'm just not really, it's not really my jam, you know, like, I mean, I'm like a Patagucci kind of guy, right? Like I'm not into like vulgar t-shirts and that sort of thing. If that's your jam, by all means, you do you. I got no complaints with it. It just wasn't my thing, and definitely kind of catered more to that crowd. I was hoping like more helmet manufacturers would be there. Like Legend Suspension and stuff was there, but there's not a lot to look at when you look at those unless you really know what you're looking for. I thought there maybe like Memphis Shades or some of these other cooler vendors might be there. So comment below if there are, like at Sturgis, there's probably way better vendors and a lot more cool parts and things to see and check out as opposed to a smaller rally like this. But that was kind of my least favorite thing, just kind of the vendors as a whole, and just it was just kind of trashy t-shirts. Okay, and now that we talked about something that wasn't really my favorite thing, my favorite thing would have to be the riding experience around the Four Corners Motorcycle Rally. Because if you ride there, you have the opportunity to do the $1 Million Highway, which is, I mean, absolutely amazing. Except for on the day when we were leaving, it was raining really hard, and I feel bad for people that were having to, got caught in the rain, especially at those elevations, because it was cold. It was like 50 degrees or something like that, so cold, not so fun. But all the other days, it was beautiful, it was sunny, so probably some of the best riding in the country. And speaking of riding, my favorite part is that Yamaha, Harley, and Triumph were at this rally, and I got to ride I think 7 different motorcycles kind of around Ignacio and then into Bailey, Colorado, which was super cool. It was awesome to be able to ride that many motorcycles. Harley especially, I will give it, I know I did a video that was like my beef with Harley, but one thing Harley does really well is their demo events. Especially if you get there early, because it seems like most of the crowd, I'm not a drinker, I'm not an alcohol person, and in fact, I'm trying to watch my girlish figure, so I didn't drink at all this trip, but, because I gotta clean it up, gain some weight. Anyways, that's another story. So, it seems like most people sleep in. So if you get to the demo tents early, and it's not super early, like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, you get to ride a lot of bikes. And Harley was super cool. They were like, after you rode one, they're like, do you want to ride something else? And they had the entire fleet there, including a CVO, but somebody wrecked one of the CVOs, so I didn't get to ride the Street Glide CVO. But everything else, they were really, really super excited to have you ride. So Harley does that really, really well. They were the best demo program there. I think I now have officially ridden every model that Harley Davidson offers, I think with the exception of 1 or 2. I didn't ride like the Street Bob, and I didn't ride the CVOs because one was wrecked and the other one was like most popular. So I didn't ride the CVO Road Glide or the CVO Street Glide or the Street Bob, but everything else I got to ride, and that was really, really cool. Yamaha demo, fun. Rode some really cool Yamahas. Got to ride the Tenor A 700, which I really wanted to ride because that's a very popular adventure bike. It was cool. I could see how it would be a really good, more off-road focused adventure bike. Effective, reliable, but it just doesn't compare to Ducati. I mean, the Ducati Multistrada is just out of this world. But the Tenor A was super cool. My favorite bike of the whole lot was actually the Yamaha XSR 900. That thing's like a kind of a vintage street naked bike. Oh my God, it was amazing. I would love to have one of those. It was so, so fun. I'll post some pictures here of all the different bikes I got to, some of the different bikes I got to demo, so I'll kind of stream those through here. But Yamaha, they were okay on the demo. You had to do a guided tour at specific times where Harley was just like, here's the keys, go have fun, you know the loop, come back, don't wreck it. Super cool. And Yamaha, you had to follow a guide. They did a different route, which got you into more traffic. And you could only ride 2 bikes in the morning and then 2 in the afternoon. So unlike Harley, where they're like, go have fun, ride as many as you want, they like kept track and they didn't let you ride as much as you want. And it wasn't that busy. So that was a little disappointing, Yamaha. Learn from Harley, they did better. Triumph, on the other hand, had their complete off-road fleet there. So they had all of basically the Tigers, and then they had the Scrambler, I think is what it's called, like for their off-road bikes. I did ride the Tiger 1200. Again, nice bike. It's fun, it cruises, but just when you compare it to the Ducati, it just doesn't compare. It just feels cheap, not as refined, not as much power. Great bike. But if you've been on the Multistrada V4S Rally, like, it just doesn't compare. Nothing compares at this point. Except for maybe that we'll see. The new BMW GS, what is it, 1300's coming out, so maybe that thing, if I can get on that, we'll find out. So that was my favorite thing, the Four Corners Motorcycle Rally. If you've never been, I think, and you're not going to go to Sturgis, I think it would be worth checking out because Durango, Colorado, super cool town, some of the best riding in the country. And if they do the demo events the way they did this year, that was a lot of fun. And if you get there early, you can ride a ton of motorcycles, which I think is the most fun part, and it's definitely worth it. So with that being said, let me know, have you ever been to the Four Corners Motorcycle Rally? Are other rallies similar, aside from Sturgis or maybe Daytona, which are the big ones, but are the ones similar? Just a lot of like t-shirt stands with cool demos. I don't know. Leave me a comment below, and until next time, stay safe out there.